Hello, Year 9. We're going to go ahead into 3G, linear equations with brackets. So when you're solving equations with brackets, we have to revise how we expand brackets. So let's go back and look at how do we expand brackets. 5 times x plus 2 means that we're actually multiplying 5 by x and x, or 5 by 2. So what we'll wind up writing down is 5 by x is 5x. And then 5 by positive 2 is a positive 10, so we put the positive 10 next to it. If we ever have expanding with additional terms added on to them, so for example, here we have 5x, we have 2 times x minus 4, so we can expand 2 times the x and 2 times negative 4. But then we also have to remember that we have this additional 5x that we're adding on to the end. So we don't actually do anything with that additional 5x until we expand. So we're going to expand first. So we'll have 2x, and then 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. And then once I have my brackets expanded, I can bring down additional terms. Once I have everything written down, I can start to see if I have any like terms. So you'll notice that we have positive 2x and we have a positive 5x. So we can actually combine our like terms so that we get 7x, and then we still have the minus 8 added on the end. Okay? So we'll do that by combining like terms. So this was just a quick revision of how we actually expand brackets. So the new material we're going to learn is how do we solve equations that have brackets in them. So for example, we still want to expand and simplify, which is what we've been doing since you guys learned how to expand brackets, right? So we'll try to expand and simplify first. Second, we'll try to identify what is happening to x and begin the solving process. So this is really when we begin to solve for x, okay? And in order to solve for x, we wind up doing the opposite and reverse order. And that's what we've been practicing the last several days. So let's go ahead and try to do that. First things first, we're going to expand the brackets when we're given an equation that has brackets in it. So let's go ahead and expand. 2 by x is 2x. 2 by positive 3 is 6. And then I bring down the 11. So right now, all I have done is expanded the brackets. Second step is actually starting to solve for x. So now I'm going to start to do some of the steps that we did in our last chapter, right? In this chapter that we've been working on. And that is thinking about getting rid of the 6 first, because it was the last thing to be added to x. So I'm going to get rid of the 6, which will get rid of that plus 6. We always want to subtract or add our constants. Get rid of them first so that you have the term with the x left over. So that means I have 2x left, and then 11 minus 6 leaves me with 5. My second step would now be to get rid of the 2. Remember, your 2 is a coefficient to x, so 2 is really multiplying by x. So to get rid of it, I'm going to do the opposite and divide. So if I divide by 2, I'll wind up with x. And then 5 divided by 2 is going to be 5 halves, or I could write it as 2.5. That's up to you. Okay? So let's try the second one the same way, because the second one looks like it's a lot more involved, except I'm really just doing the exact same steps. So for the second one, I'm going to wind up expanding first as well. So that means I'll wind up taking 2 by 4x, and I get 8x, and 2 by 2, which is 4. Everything else I bring down. So minus the 10x, I just bring it down. Minus 6, I just bring that down. Equals 6, I just bring that down. So I'm not doing anything to those additional terms. What you guys will notice, though, is that I expand But the second step is to simplify. Before I begin to solve, I need to combine my like terms. So my like terms here happen to be 8x and negative 10x. So if I put those together, I'll get negative 2x. And then I also have positive 4 and negative 6. So that goes together, positive 4 minus 6, or plus negative 6, is negative 2. And then I bring down the 6. I didn't do anything to that. Now that I've actually simplified, I can start my solving process. So I'm going to start by solving by using my steps. And I always want to, again, add or subtract your constant term first, because that was the last thing to be added or subtracted to x. So since it's a negative 2, which means I'm subtracting 2, I do the opposite, plus 2. That gets rid of my negative 2, and it leaves me with negative 2x is equal to 6 plus 2 is 8. Now my second step would be to get rid of the negative 2 coefficient. It's right in front of the x. If it's right in front of the x, that means it's multiplying by the x. So I'm going to undo it by dividing by negative 2. So I'll get rid of my negative 2 that way, because negative 2 divided by negative 2 leaves me with a 1x. And then 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4. All right? So these are a little bit more complex equations, and we'll continue to practice them the next few days in class. Have a good night.